In the late 1960s and early 70s, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, leaving a trail of terror across California. The Zodiac Killer, as he would later be known, remains one of the most infamous and enigmatic serial killers in American history. The first confirmed murder attributed to the Zodiac Killer occurred in December 1968, but it was only the beginning of a chilling saga that would stretch across the better part of a decade. A young couple, parked in a secluded lover's lane, fell victim to this mysterious assailant, their lives cut tragically short. But the Zodiac's reign of terror was just beginning. The killings continued unabated over the next few years, with the murderer claiming at least 5 victims and possibly as many as 37. Each murder was seemingly random, striking fear into the heart of Californians. The Zodiac was not just a killer, he was a spectre, a phantom that could strike anywhere, anytime. What set the Zodiac apart from other serial killers of his time, however, was his penchant for communication. He didn't just kill, he taunted. He didn't just evade capture, he flaunted his freedom. He sent letters to local newspapers, cryptic messages filled with strange symbols and coded messages that even now have not been fully decrypted. These letters were his calling card, his way of playing a macabre game with the authorities. He would reveal information about the murders that only the killer could know, confirming his identity and leaving no doubt as to the authenticity of his claims. And yet, despite the clues he left behind, despite the extensive efforts of law enforcement, his identity remained elusive. The last known communication from the Zodiac arrived in 1974. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the killing spree seemed to end. The letters stopped, the murders stopped, but the mystery did not. Despite the extensive efforts of law enforcement, the Zodiac Killer's identity remains a mystery to this day. The shadowy figure who once terrorized California has faded into the annals of criminal history, but his legacy endures, a chilling reminder of a time when a killer could strike from the shadows and vanish without a trace. So, the first known victims of the Zodiac Killer were high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, murdered in December 1968. Their night began with a promise of innocent fun, a first date that ended in a brutal and senseless tragedy found on a lover's lane in Midget, California. Their bodies bore the chilling signature of a killer who was yet to become infamous, the Zodiac. The reign of terror continued with the murder of Darlene Ferrin, who was gunned down in a secluded parking lot in Vallejo, California, in July 1969. Her companion, Michael Mageau, miraculously survived despite being shot multiple times. His description of their attacker, a man in his late 20s or early 30s, heavy-set and not particularly tall, was the first glimpse into the face of the Zodiac. Just 2 months later, another chilling episode unfolded at Lake Berryessa, where the Zodiac attacked young couple Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell. Tied up and stabbed multiple times, Hartnell survived, but Shepard succumbed to her injuries days later. Hartnell's description of their attacker, a man wearing a black executioner-style hood with a white crossed circle symbol, would become synonymous with the Zodiac. The murder of Paul Stein, a San Francisco cab driver, in October 1969, marked a departure from the Zodiac's usual modus operandi. Unlike the previous attacks, this one occurred in a busy city, and The victim was a lone adult male, but the Zodiac's audacity didn't end there. He left a piece of Stein's bloodied shirt at the crime scene, a gruesome calling card that he would later send in pieces to the press. In the midst of this horror, a pattern emerged. The Zodiac seemed to enjoy toying with the authorities, often calling the police to report his own crimes, leading them on a macabre scavenger hunt for evidence. As the body count rose, so too did the public's fear and fascination. The Zodiac Killer was making headlines, and he was just getting started. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the Zodiac case were the letters he sent to the press, filled with cryptic messages and threats of further violence. The Zodiac Killer didn't just murder, he also communicated, injecting fear into the heart of society with his taunting, cipher-laden letters. These letters, written in a mixture of standard English and coded messages, were sent to various newspapers, including the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times Herald. Each letter was a chilling testament to the Zodiac's audacity, his cunning, and his thirst for public attention. But it was the ciphers, those cryptic puzzles, that truly set the Zodiac apart. He included 4 ciphers in his letters, the most famous of which was a 408-character cryptogram. It was this cipher that was cracked by 2 amateur code breakers, Donald and Betty Harden, a high school teacher, and his wife. Their solution revealed a disturbing message in which the Zodiac claimed that killing people gave him a thrill that was better than getting your rocks off with a girl. Yet, despite the Harden's success with the 408 character cipher, the remaining 3 ciphers have resisted all attempts at decryption. These unsolved ciphers continue to tantalize codebreakers and crime enthusiasts, holding the promise of further insights into the mind of the Zodiac. In his letters, the Zodiac also made threats of further violence, including a chilling promise to bomb a school bus. He claimed to have killed as many as 37 people, a number far greater than the 5 confirmed victims. These threats and claims, whether true or not, added another layer of terror to the Zodiac's reign of fear. The Zodiac's letters were a game of cat and mouse with the authorities, a game that, to this day, has left more questions than answers. His cryptic communications remain one of the most eerie and enduring aspects of this unsolved case, a chilling testament to a killer who not only murdered, but also reveled in the fear and confusion he created. The hunt for the Zodiac Killer was one of the most extensive in California history, involving multiple law enforcement agencies and countless man-hours. The pursuit was relentless, as detectives left no stone unturned. Handwriting analysis became a crucial tool, as the killer's letters were dissected in an attempt to identify him. Fingerprinting, a time-honored technique, was used to cross-reference against evidence from the crime scenes. As technology advanced, law enforcement hoped that DNA testing might finally provide the break they needed. Over the years, several suspects emerged, each with intriguing yet inconclusive connections to the Zodiac. Despite the tireless efforts of investigators, none of these individuals could be definitively linked to the crimes. The elusive Zodiac appeared to vanish as mysteriously as he had emerged, leaving behind a trail of unsolved murders. The Zodiac Killer case remains open in several jurisdictions. Who he was, why he killed, and why he stopped remain among the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. The Zodiac Killer's reign of terror may have ended decades ago, but his legacy lives on. This case is not just a relic of a bygone era, but a living, breathing enigma that continues to captivate. The Zodiac Killer's narrative has permeated pop culture, inspiring numerous films, books, and even songs. He's the phantom that lurks in the dark corners of our collective consciousness, a symbol of the unknown, the uncatchable. The case has also sparked a legion of amateur sleuths, armed with fresh perspectives and modern technology. They tirelessly scour the Zodiac's cryptic communications, hoping to decipher the remaining ciphers and unmask the elusive killer. The Zodiac Killer case, a chilling tale of a shadowy figure who terrorized California and vanished without a trace, continues to captivate and confound us. Perhaps one day, the final pieces of this intricate puzzle will fall into place. Until then, the mystery endures.